Hello, BookTube. As some of you may have seen recently on this channel, I have been taken to reading poetry to you. I originally started this as sort of a quasi-challenge to read more poetry on Thursdays, pull down a poem and read it and then talk about why you like it. But I enjoyed it so much that I started toying with the idea of just reading you a poem whenever I feel like it, whether it's every day or not. And a number of you, being the enablers that you are, really like that idea and said, feel free. So that's what I'm going to do today. I've gone to the Norton Anthology of Poetry. Some of you may have seen me haul this thing, a recent acquisition, a big thing that's intended for schools. I've gone to the Norton Anthology of Poetry and to the great Walter de la Mare. So once again, we are going to the 19th century. I promise they won't all be the 19th century. It's just that random chance and also my frequently repeated contention on this channel that the Victorians just do things better than everybody else. But not only is this another Victorian poem, but also I want to stress here, this is not a fixation of mine, this is not an obsession or a point that I'm trying to get across subtly, but this is another creepy child poem, like the last one. I promise that won't be a theme throughout. I'll try to pick one next time that isn't a creepy child poem. But this is a creepy child poem called The Keys of Morning by Walter de la Mare. While at her bedroom window once, learning her task for school, little Louisa lonely sat in the morning clear and cool. She slanted her small bead-brown eyes across the empty street and saw Death softly watching her in the sunshine, pale and sweet. His was a long, lean, sallow face. He sat with half-shut eyes, like an old sailor in a ship, becalmed 'neath tropic skies. Beside him in the dust he had set his staff and shady hat. These, peeping small, Louisa saw quite clearly where he sat. The thinness of his coal-black locks, his hands so long and lean, they scarcely seemed to grasp at all the keys that hung between. Both were gold, but one was small, and with this last did he wag in the air as if to say, "Come hither, child, to me." Louisa laid her lesson book on the cold window sill, and in the sleepy sunshine house went softly down until she stood in the half-open door and peeped. But strange to say, where Death just now had sunning sat, only a shadow lay. Just the tall chimney's round-topped cowl and the small sun behind had with its shadow in the dust called sleepy Death to mind. But most she thought how strange it was, 2 keys that he should bear, and that, when beckoning, he would wag the littlest in the air. Walter de la Mare, as you can tell, is also a creepy guy, just like the Supertramp, who was our last poet. And I love the way this poem does what so many great poems do, which is to evoke a reality and then wisp it away like a mirage. But still have it be true. Still have it be real. Right? Little Louisa is looking out. She's not thinking. She's not afraid. It's broad daylight. When she sees Death sitting there, and Death is tall and shadowy, like the shadow of a chimney, with a cowl on top that might look like someone's head, but is holding 2 golden keys, one small, one large. The keys don't fit with the narrative, right? The keys aren't something that could be mistaken from the shadow of a chimney. They stand out, which is why I think they stand out in little Louisa's mind. She goes down to look, like every child in any kind of fairy tale. She's not afraid when she should be. So she goes down to get a closer look at Death sitting there. And that's when the poem seems to blow away the image that it has summoned. Because this is poetry, right? And it's Victorian poetry, which means it could easily be Death. But instead, the poem seems to blow away the image by saying, oh, no. Once she gets down there, she sees now it's just the shadow of the chimney in the sunlight. That she's mistaken, that's all. But she can't help but remember that Death was holding 2 keys, and that the one he waved at her was the little one, not the long one. I don't think you have to be too morbid of a disposition, certainly I'd like to think I'm not of a morbid disposition, to realize that those keys are life, and that Death is waving the little one at Louisa. And she just notices it. She's too young to know why, but she remembers when she gets down there that that's the one detail that isn't cleared up by suddenly a new vantage point, and that the short key is probably a short life. Maybe that's why Death was there. Is the chimney going to fall on Louisa while she's down there? Is she going to die when she goes back upstairs? Is she going to fall out that same window? And it's going to happen soon? I think that's the chill that's supposed to go up your spine. What do those two keys mean, one long, one short? Well, if it means lifespan, and if the golden key that means a short lifespan is the one that death was waving, come hither, little girl, to me, then maybe that's the meaning. And maybe Louisa is just none the wiser. We know what she now doesn't know, which is that it probably was death that she saw, and that she's not long for this world. She's going to be another creepy dead child, just like in our last poem. I'm now realizing how bad that sounds. So I will pick something completely different, I promise. There will not be a creepy dead child, or soon-to-be dead child, in our next poem. So I'm going to wrap this up. That was The Keys of Morning. That's Morning. But I don't think that it's out of bounds at all that Walter de la Mare is thinking you might be thinking of the other kind of morning. I think that hovering over this whole poem is the idea that Louisa is soon to bite the dirt. But anyway, that is your poem for today. I have to admit, I don't know why, but this is just an enormous amount of fun for me. So I may do this on a regular basis. I promise, though, they won't all be about dead children. So I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.